stuff on iTunes and everything
Dude,
like that. But
Indigo Skies, bro. I don't know what you were going through when you were out in California, but some of the stuff you were doing out there,
you want to know?
insane.
Do you know the meaning of that song?
Sure.
So
It's one of my favorite songs,
So
by
the-
the way. Indigo Skies by Rizzo. Check it out.
yeah, it's on Spotify and all that. So when I made that song, it came organically. My buddy Kevin Richter, who lives in LA still, he and I got together a couple jam sessions at like a music rehearsal space, and we were working just like trying to like make a song together, and that was the song that came out of that jam session. And but when I wrote the lyrics, so I'd always wanted to live in LA or New York, like my whole life, and I chose LA and went to LA because I had done something for school there and was always like kind of drawn back to it. And when I went back, I was like doing my music thing, I was heavy into it, and like it just didn't end up being what I dreamed of it to be. And so one of my favorite book of all time is a book called Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a really deep philosophical book, but it's like considered the best Western of all time. And it covers a lot of themes like good versus evil and all this kind of stuff in it. But one of the themes in the book is the topic or this concept of Ignis Fatuus. So in like old Western times, when you would be like in the night, like traveling on a caravan or on horseback or whatever, you would meet fellow travelers in the night passing you or whatever. But there's this phenomenon that happens like in nature, like out in space, where like gas coalesces and it creates like a light in the distance. And people will often see it and think it's like, oh, that's a city in the distance where like gold
is that like the Northern Lights, like Aurora Borealis type thing?
No, it's different, but
Okay.
it's like a similar like phenomenon of nature.
Okay.
But people would see it in the distance and they'd be like, oh, that's where the city is, that's where the gold is, that's where the opportunity is, or they would see it and think it's like more people like creating campfires or whatever, and they'd be drawn to it. But in the book, he's like talking about this scene where like people are passing each other, and the guys, the main characters, are a band of mercenaries based off of a true group called the Glanton Gang, 1800s. And they just came from like basically marauding village and like killing everybody in the village, and they're passing these other people that's seeing this phenomenon in the distance from where they just came, and they're going to it. And the whole idea is like, and this is a long walk for a short drink of water, but I'm going to bring it back to what I was talking about, which is the Ignis Fatuus concept of oftentimes like so Ignis Fatuus is like that idea of like you see a light in the distance and you think it's this opportunity in this like dreamland or this
The
thing.
grass is greener type of
Yeah,
concept.
and but it can also be a fraudulent light,
Often.
and can lead people towards lead people astray or lead people down dark roads. And that concept is so fascinating to me. And when I read it and finally understood it, when I read it in that book, I was like, oh man, this is exactly how I feel about a lot of things in life, where
In LA.
well, yeah, but also like the dream of making it, like
Yeah.
we're always like, as artists, like we want to do the thing that gives us meaning as like our career or our thing that brings home the money. But that like pursuit, if not like tied to the right values or principles or lessons of life, you can lead you astray, and as it does so many artists, right? But it also intrinsically and like from a meaning and purpose standpoint can also destroy you, because you're so drawn to that material success of I gotta make it, and it can burn out the light within you of pursuing it for the right reasons, or like the reason why it makes you happy. And at that moment, I was kind of going through that burnout phase of like pursuing music for so long in that way. I gotta make it, I gotta prove myself, I gotta like, everything that I've worked for has gotta mean something monetarily, successfully wise. And I started to lose that feeling that music gave me. And that song was the song I wrote to express that. And
So good.
it basically is like in LA is like a perfect example of Ignis Fatuus because everybody goes there to make it, but so many only like a small fraction of people do, and even when they do, it's a fraudulent destiny of Holly Weird.
Holly weird, dude. Yeah, because obviously that's where the industry is, and so I had to spend some time out there doing music stuff and meeting with labels and all of that jazz. And yeah, it's Holly weird for sure, bro. And the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So as you start to, you know, realize these things, then you have new ideas of what making it is. So for me, I got to the point where I'm like, man, dude, I have like core fans that really want to hear when I drop stuff, and it's like
Same.
constantly just thinking like, oh, but I need to hit this
Need
next.
more fans.
Yeah,
More fans
yeah.
are gonna make it.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't, bro. Like, be happy with what you have, and you can literally engage with them and just,
right.
and be with them. And so that's what we want to do here with Side by Side Podcast, and hopefully, introduce other aspects of our lives that you probably don't know. Some people probably know us, but you may know us from music or career or something, whatever. But we're multifaceted human beings.
Yeah.
And these are the types of conversations that we have all of the time. And now we're just like, hey, let's just share it with other people because we already have these conversations. So, I mean, if you're a person that, would like to engage in some of these conversations, hit us up. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on Twitter or whatever.
And we just launched the parent media group. It's Elusis Media Group, Elusis Media GRP on Instagram, Twitter, all that. You can follow that for side by side drops, any of the future projects that come out. It's ELEUSIS Media GRP on Instagram.
Yep, on all the platforms. So just like
we're even on minds.com now.
Yeah, minds.com. Yeah, I don't know about it, but he's hip. Yeah. He told you he's into the technology stuff. So yeah, no, hit us up if you want to be on the show, or someone that's interesting that you think should be on the show. I mean, I personally believe that everyone's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to take the time to listen to them.
You got to take the time to listen to them, and you have to take the time to ask good questions, engaging questions to make people think. Obviously, like, I do like to talk to people that have maybe already kind of thought some things through. But if you haven't thought these things through, that's fine. Continue to watch the shows. Hit that subscribe button. It's super important. Subscribe. Get those notifications so you know what's up when we're dropping new stuff, because we're going to be dropping some heat at least once a week, we agree to right now. So at least 50 episodes this year. So yeah. I'm pumped.
And as a segue, why don't you tell the people about our sponsor of the podcast?
Yeah, big sponsor of our podcast. Really working with people to create, grow, and protect their assets is Black Swan Financial Group. Black Swan Financial Group is a financial services firm based out of New York, but they work completely virtually, working with young professionals, young families, small business owners, and pre-retirees, helping them create, protect, and grow their assets. BlackSwanFinancialGroup.com.
So let me we'll shift gears a little bit here. What are you excited about, bud? We got springs popping.
Yeah.
Weather's warming up.
Equinox, baby.
What are you excited about these days?
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty just pumped about creating right now, man. Like, it's just like, bro, to taking that long hiatus, like after not signing that deal or whatever. I didn't make music for 5 years. I didn't create anything for 5 years. I literally just focused on growing my financial practice, and I did that, and learned a lot along the way about myself and the industry and all of that too. And then wasn't even thinking about making anything. Like, just was kind of just like dying slowly on the inside. And V and Millie sent a track that they were working on, and I don't know,
Bandemic.
No, I made that one.
Oh yeah.
No, it was a track. I forget what it's called.
I freaking love the name of that track.
So good.
Bandemic.
Yeah, well, then it became like a word. People started using it, but
Yeah.
we were the first that we hadn't heard anyone say it at that time when we made it, and maybe we should have released it. But it goes back to, people not having that same work ethic and wanting to do the things, because it was a timely song and it was just a good, catchy song. But yeah, they sent me a track. And I don't know, it just sparked something inside of me, and I was like, holy crap. And mind you, I hadn't wrote any songs or anything for 5 years. I get this track, I listened to it, I literally wrote like 7 verses that day. And then I was like, all right, dude, we got to start recording. Like, I'm ready. And they're like, okay, like, let's go. So I flew to Chicago, did some tracks. Then I came back like the next month. I was living in New York. And then I went back to Chicago. I got my buddy Dre Pierre, the producer. He came in from Detroit. We made some beats. And like we did Bandemic that time, which is just a funny song because it was just about like, the pandemic was going on, and like if you're from Chicago, then everybody know like it was a pandemic, dog. Like if you ain't getting no money during the pandemic, bro, like bruh, like it was it was so much stuff going on, like so many opportunities to make it. It was like literally a pandemic, and we made a dope track, but it wasn't the track that I wanted to actually be on. Like I like to like ghostwrite and stuff, and so I just wanted to like ghostwrite these records for some people, and they liked it, but then they just didn't. It is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
I am excited about, well, immediately excited that I'm going to Europe in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
Where are you going in Europe, bro?
Going to Amsterdam, Paris, and London for the first time.
Nice.
Going to a wedding for my wife's best friend. Shout out to them, Grady and Connor. So very excited. I'm a little disappointed. I'm not gonna be able to catch a Chelsea game, which I'm a big Chelsea fan and have never been able to go. But it's okay.
You gotta hit up John, man. Maybe you can go to a Tottenham game or something. Maybe they're playing.
Yeah, you gotta connect.
Yeah.
But long term excited, bro. I'm really excited about the guests we've paired up for the first like 2 months of the podcast.
Yeah.
You guys, I really hope you stick with this and stay with us on this journey. We got some really cool people coming on.
Yeah.
Some are friends, some are acquaintances, but just people with like really valuable stories